We're going to be talking about a comparison of development of electricity markets in Nigeria and Canada. We have a very distinguished panel, small but people very well qualified to talk to you today. The first speaker is Her Excellency Mrs. Zainab Kuchi, Minister of State for Power. She took office in, I think, about October of last year, but she's a very quick learner and has made a very valuable contribution to the ongoing reform of the power sector in Nigeria. The second speaker will be Mr. Ron Clark. Mr. Clark is a partner in a law firm based in Canada called Aird & Burles. He's been very active in the restructuring and the structure of the power market and industry in Canada, and also working overseas. Our third speaker is Mr. Daniel McCormick. Mr. McCormick is the managing partner of a company called Epi Solar that establishes large-scale solar electricity plants. They have a large plant undergoing construction in Ghana, and which she'll be telling you about, and they're also looking for opportunities in Nigeria and other countries in the region. There's a very large, you'll hear today that there's a very large contrast in some ways between the electricity and power markets in Canada and in Nigeria, but in fact, after the reform, the structure of the industry in Nigeria is very similar to that of Canada. The difference has been the length of time that we've been operating under that structure, and basically the success. Canada is a much smaller country than Nigeria, but we produce a great deal more power, more than 100,000, the capacity is more than 100,000 megawatts in Canada. Nigeria, unfortunately, has been hampered by very low output of its power sector. And the power, 3 or 4 years ago, the power output in Nigeria was approximately 3.5 megawatts, and that's exactly the same as it was in 1972. So after more than 35 years of development, growth, a period during which the economy grew more than 3 times and the population almost that same level, Nigeria was still producing the same amount of electricity. Obviously, this meant tremendous breakdown in the availability of electricity. Nigeria has embarked on a very ambitious reform, which the Minister will, I believe, tell you about. So it's my great pleasure to introduce the Minister of State for Energy, for Power, Mrs. Zainab Kuchi.
I think the excellencies have all disappeared. We will find them somehow. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will take you through a little bit of story about the power sector before we do using the IPPs to meet Nigerians' power need. The poor electricity supply in Nigeria brought deep sense of frustration across the country over the years. In order to address the problem, His Excellency President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR, launched a roadmap for the power reforms in August 2010, which was programmed to provide solutions to all the problems in the power sector. The roadmap has a two-pronged approach. The first is to get the maximum power possible from the existing system. The second prong is to accelerate reform activities which will lead to attractive private sector investment in the power sector. The aim of the roadmap is to fulfill the goal of the electricity sector reform, that's the EPRS Act of 2005. That is by rehabilitation of the current power infrastructures to increase the supply, providing clarity on power sector privatization, strategy and timeliness, removing obstacles to private investment in greenfield projects, resolving the fuel-to-power issue, creating alignment across the value chain towards developing and delivering reliable power supply to Nigerians, and also developing a long-range power plans in order to overcome the problems and the challenges that we have. When the government came to power, the power supply to Nigerians was at 1,800 megawatts. And today, we have about 4,500 megawatts, that is wheeling power. We generate up to 7,000 megawatts of power, but are only able to wheel about 4,500 megawatts of power, and that is why we are here. So the emerging reforms and investment opportunities in Nigerian power sectors are numerous. Independent power projects, that's the IPPs on thermal power generation. To enable this, we have the bulk trader who has brought credibility to the power industry and hence can sign PPAs and vesting contracts with investors. We also have plans and programs around development of small and medium and large hydropower projects and other renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and biomass. We have the regulator, which is very well entrenched, that is Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, chaired by a chairman who has published feed-in tariffs for the renewable energy generation. There is established also credible institutions such as NELCOM, EMBED, NAPTIN, and of course we have the Rural Electrification Agency, which is key to the deliverance of renewables and other type of electricities that we could manage in the rural areas. We have the Gas Aggregation Company of Nigeria, which ensures deliverance of gas. And then presently, the tariff issues is addressed so that we have a cost-reflective tariff under the auspices of a multi-year tariff order. That's MITO 2. We are canvassing very seriously for PPPs in the development of hydropower and also build, operate, and transfer, which is BOT. We are leveraging on all the opportunities of operations and maintenance for power generation. We also support and encourage equity investment under the privatization program. The opportunity for investments in coal-fired power plants, since Nigerian government is about to conclude the bankable feasibility studies for the coal mine and power plant projects. We have a lot of issues under the project financing, and I think we address that also. The provision of medium and long-term concessionary loan for infrastructure, which we call the Power Sector Intervention Fund, is very much in place. The contractor finance for the expansion of transmission assets, for example, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, is also very much being funded. Well, we are looking at other aspects like the capacity building that we need, and our NAPTIN, which is our Institute for Training for the sector, is very much revamped. We have done a lot of reactivation of a lot of programs and issues around satisfying the capacity need of that sector. And this is being pushed by a very, very competent and able Director General. Grants and other fundings come in from African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and we are currently doing a lot of issues with the Exim Bank of China. So we are here because we believe that Canadians have a lot to do with us in terms of power. We could relate very well, and I'll take you through the slides we have, which is using the IPPs to meet Nigerians' power needs. Who is controlling it? So I will take you through the overview. You see there? Where is it? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I know, I didn't see it. Thank you. The overview, we have the introduction there, the background, the policies, the structures, wholesale electricity market, the potentials for IPPs in Nigeria and other services, the challenges we have, the way forward, the conclusions, and then I will start with the resources. If you look at this page, we have a lot of resources for electricity generation in Nigeria. We have the crude oil, we have the natural gas, we have the coal and ignite, we have the star sands, large hydro dams, small hydro dams, solar radiations, wind, biomass. So you look through that, you see the quantum of the natural units that we have. Introducing you to the 2012 generation data, daily average of energy delivered was 92,721 megawatts. The maximum peak reach, as I told you earlier, is 4,500. The average peak generation was 4,178 megawatts. The installed capacity is 9,920. The maximum availability capacity is 6,965. This background gives you the road that we have walked, where we are coming from in terms of IPPs. These are all the IPPs that we have in Nigeria, starting from 30 megawatts to 270 megawatts of NASCO. Then we have the AES, which has 136 megawatts. We have the Trans Amadi, which has 460 megawatts. The Okpai has 642 megawatts. AFAM has 140 megawatts. Omoko has 150 megawatts. So there are so many IPPs already in Nigeria, but we need more. We have several licenses for the IPPs, and these are examples of them. We have the off-grid, which gives us about 13 megawatts. The embedded too is there, gives us about 160 megawatts. We have licenses for IPPs. The on-grid licenses gives us about 3,000 megawatts. The small IPP locations in the country are seen there. We have in Shagamu, Ikweriko, Lagos, Ibadan, Benin, Port Harcourt, Calabar, One, Kaduna, Abuja, Jos, Kano, Maiduguri. You can see that the northern part of Nigeria, which is the largest, still requires a lot of IPPs. The policies around IPP started from 1950. I think I will not bore you by taking you through them. They're there for you to see, and I think a copy of this can be given. But come 2005, we had the EPRS Act, and this act helped us unbundle the PHCN, because we realized we had a lot of bottlenecks. And we unbundled, we commercialized, and then we privatized. We created the NAC with the development of competitive electricity market and creation of market operations started. Private sector participation through IPPs and joint ventures started in earnest. In 2008, the National Domestic Gas Supply and Pricing Policy came into place. It ensures access and low-cost price to some limited sectors in the economy, named the strategic domestic sector, of which power sector was identified as part of it. In 2010, the Power Reform Roadmap came to play. This showed a path to achieving the aspiration of the government, especially as it affects privatization of existing assets. In 2012, we reviewed the roadmap because we needed to in order to deliver. We fine-tuned this to make it responsive to present-day realities. Now, we look at the structures under which we are asking you to come and invest. And we have the Ministry of Power, which is at the top of the apex. This is the policy-making functions here. It carries out studies and support research in power, technologies. It gives the required intervention in terms of requirements where investors need them. Then we have the Federal Ministry of Environment that also helps with policy making, environmental audits, monitoring and enforcement. Then we have the NAC. NAC makes the rules. It ensures the rules work. So the regulatory audits, monitoring and enforcement of those rules. You have the TCN, which is the Transmission Company of Nigeria, under the structures. This is the access to network and network development. Power planning is done there. Power system operation is carried out there. Market operation also happens there. Then we have the Generating Companies of Nigeria, which we call the DISCOs. They are the network under which access and development and operation happens. Then we have the embeds. The embeds, it's the power brokerage. It gives securitization for IPPs. The other structures that you have are the NIPC, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. They assist in the establishment of the company in the country if you need it fast, and they give incentive to investors. So what do we say? This wholesale electricity market, this is the spread of what we have currently. The wholesale electricity market in 2012, it's so large, it has 255 billion naira, or about $1.7 billion. The captive power of IPP energy market is estimated at 99.8 billion naira, or about $0.66 billion. Below licensing threshold, IPP market is estimated at 74.6 billion naira, or about $0.496 billion. Embedded IPP energy market size is about 3.5 billion naira, or about $23 million. This is the market we want you to assess. The IPP products and services is real power delivery, peak power services, reserve power services, spinning reserves and non-spinning reserves, power quality, voltage and frequency regulation services, black stats services. You have the investment opportunity also continue with the EPC contract services, the financial services, the legal services, equipment and spare parts supply services, maintenance and operation services, community relationship services, regulatory consultancy services, efficiency improvement services. So some potentials of the hydro IPPs that we are selling currently is the Gurara 2, the Mambila, the Guma, the Chalawa, the Oyan. Just last week, we finalized on the Mambila, so we still have the Gurara 2, the Goma, and the Chalawa, and the Oyan. Then the potential IPPs under REA, that's Rural Electrification Agencies, looking for private sector partnership for development of renewable solutions to remote rural villages, under solar, wind, biomass, or small hydros too. And this is key because presently we give power to just about 40% of Nigerians. We are a population of about 160 going on 70 million Nigerians. And if we are giving power to just about 40% of Nigerians, then we are seeing a huge population of about 120 million Nigerians that need power. So challenges faced by the IPPs. The challenges faced by the IPPs in Nigeria are security, vandalization of gas pipeline, electricity transmission lines. This is what we are addressing. We are very conversant and very comfortable with the fact that we are taking care of these issues and we are facing them head on. The regulatory aspect, the lack of clarity in the rules by which gives commitment to develop embeds or gas aggregation company of Nigeria. The lack of clarity about how many megawatts you can have on one site. All this we have addressed. This is part of the challenges that we came home with, shopping for investors, because now we know what we need and what we need to address in terms of investor participation. Transmission infrastructure inadequacy. Actual evacuation from station does not match the actual infrastructure figures. Inadequate alignment of transmission and distribution interfaces. So we have a huge need of intervention in the transmission aspect of power supply. Then the financial. This is the wholesale market shortfall. And this is what the financiers have given us statistics on, and we intend to actually put them into play in terms of investing by any investor. Then the human capacity challenges and the skill gap which are existing. This is part of what we need the IPPs in terms of the sector participation. We need to build capacity in that area. Gas supply is also inadequate, gas supply to power plants, but now with the new pipelines that we are developing, we are addressing these issues. And considering the problems that we have in the transmission line of Nigeria, transmission company of Nigeria, and the quantum volume of funding that we need in that sector, that is why we are canvassing for renewables and off-grid investment. So the lopsided power resource mix is why we now need a new energy mix. The challenges continue in this graft, and this is how it goes. The PSCN, the NIPP, and others, in terms of gas allocation to these different places. So what is the way forward? The way forward is captive power, diversification of the fuel mix, improvement of infrastructure, gas and power, providing more wheeling corridors, embed capitalization and mitigation arrangement, NAPTIN, capacity building, and greater funding and better legislations and better investments, the PIB. The conclusion I have under the IPP deliverance is that IPPs can be used to meet Nigerians' power needs in both the short-term, medium-term, and the long-term basis. Opportunities exist in this regard and will continue to be there for a long, long time. What I am comfortable about is the fact that we have a huge market. The market is fantastic. Power is needed. We need investors. And IPPs are the way to go in terms of Nigerian investments in power. Thank you.